Stronger relationships through communication. What if I told you that one simple skill could make your relationships deeper, more trusting, and almost unbreakable? That skill is communication. And no, I'm not talking about just talking. I'm talking about the kind of communication that builds trust, that resolves misunderstandings, and that makes people truly connected to each other. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how communication can strengthen any relationship in your life, whether it's with your partner, or your friends, or your family, or your colleagues. And I'm going to give you practical steps that you can use right after this video to make your connections stronger. Let's start here. Every strong relationship, whether it is personal or professional, is built on trust. And you know what? Trust doesn't magically appear. It is built brick by brick through consistent, honest, and empathetic communication. Think about it. If somebody listens to you without interrupting, when they share openly with you, when they follow through on what they say, you know what happens? You start to feel safe with them. That feeling of safety is you trusting them. And that trust is what makes a relationship last. So we are constantly building bridges of trust with different people. Let's look at the 3 pillars of communication for stronger relationships. Pillar number 1, be honest and transparent. Honesty is like oxygen in a relationship. Without it, the connection suffocates. It doesn't mean that you share every thought that comes to your head, but it does mean being truthful about your feelings, about your needs, and even about your mistakes. I repeat, it is about being truthful about your feelings, your needs, and even your mistakes. You know, honesty equals trust. For example, I once worked with a person who avoided telling her business partner that she was unhappy about the workload that was being divided. And she didn't want to cause drama. But weeks later, her frustration suddenly exploded. There was a heated argument. And when we unpacked it, we realized that a simple, honest conversation weeks earlier would have saved that partnership of theirs a lot of pain. Because when you communicate, having decided that I'm going to share my idea, it comes out as a conversation. But when you're angry, the amygdala, which is the emotional center, gets activated. And when you have a sprinkling of emotions that is involved in your communication, and the emotions are not good emotions, it lands up being not a conversation, not a discussion, but rather a heated argument. Pillar number 2 is listen to understand, not to reply. I repeat, listen to understand, not to reply. Most people think that communication is about what you say. It's not about what you say. It's actually about what you hear. And you know what? Active listening is one of the most powerful tools to strengthen the bond of a relationship. Active listening means giving someone your full attention, no phone, no distraction, and really trying to understand what is the message that this person is trying to send across to me. What is it that they mean just by the words that they're saying? And when you hear the message, then you reflect back what you've heard so that they know that they are understood, that you have understood what they are trying to say to you. So when somebody shares, instead of jumping in immediately with your own story, a good way to start with active listening is to say, so you're feeling overwhelmed because you've handled most of the project alone. Am I right? That simple reflection makes the other person feel seen, feel valued, because you are putting their feelings into words. And once a person feels heard, a person wants to share more. The third pillar of communication, and many of you will struggle with this, is be vulnerable to build connection. Yes, be vulnerable. Most people avoid doing this. They feel vulnerability, I can't do it. Because you think that if I show my fears, if I show my insecurities, people will respect me less. They will think, oh my God, what a coward. But actually, it's the opposite. It's vulnerability that builds closeness, that builds connection. And people feel, oh, she feels safe to share this with me. You know, Brené Brown says, vulnerability is the birthplace of love, of belonging, and of joy. Understand, when you share something real, a struggle, or even a fear, and it may be a past for failure, you know what you're telling the other person? You're telling the other person, I trust you enough to be myself with you. And in most cases, when you are vulnerable, you allow, you give permission to the other person to respond by opening up as well. So you allow that person to open their box of vulnerability and share their own vulnerabilities with you. You know, I've worked with many couples, and what I have realized is many of them have been stuck in resentment for years. And finally, when they have dropped their guard and they have been vulnerable and shared their real feelings, like I was hurt because I felt left out and I did not know how to tell you. Those are the moments that change relationships. So I've given you the 3 pillars to build stronger relationships. The first one is to be honest and transparent. The second one is to listen in order to understand and not to reply. And the third is to be vulnerable to build connection. Let me give you a quick exercise which you can try today. Because you know, knowing something and not putting it into practice is equal to not knowing it. So, in order to help you practice and in order to make it more practical for you, I want you to choose to do this tiny little exercise today. I want you to choose one person in your life. This person could be a friend or a family member or a colleague. And I want you to have this 3-step conversation today. So what are the 3 steps? Number 1, start by telling them one thing you genuinely appreciate about them. This is what we call in emotional wellness a positive stroke. What is it that you genuinely appreciate about them? And don't make it up. Be genuine, be honest about it. The second thing that I want you to do is to ask how they've been feeling lately. And listen. Listen without interrupting. Don't hurry them up. And after they have shared, see if you can pick out the feeling that they're having and just voice back to them their feeling. End this conversation with one small but personal thing about yourself. That's the vulnerability part of it. Now, this sounds simple, but this combination of number 1, appreciation, number 2, listening, and number 3, vulnerability creates instant connection, instant closeness. Remember, stronger relationships don't just happen. They are built one brick at a time. Through honesty, through listening, through the courage to be real with people, authentic with people. Start by practicing these habits, and you will see that trust starts to deepen, misunderstandings start to fade, and connections grow stronger than ever. If you found this helpful, hit that like button. Go ahead, hit that like button. Also, share it with a friend so that more people will see it. And in the comments, I want you to put one thing that you are going to work on this week. Just one small thing. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you want more videos like this on communication, on confidence, on emotional wellness, make sure that you subscribe and turn on the bell so that you don't miss what's coming next.